The Galactic Council chamber was a grand, circular hall, its walls lined with banners of hundreds of starfaring civilizations. At the center of the room, a massive round table gleamed under the artificial lights. The most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered here to decide the fate of countless worlds. Yet, despite all the voices, all the leaders, one seat remained empty. It had always been there, at the highest position among the council seats. A massive black throne, different from the rest. The seat of humanity. No one dared to sit in it. No one dared to remove it. And no one, not even the oldest members of the council, would talk about it. The forbidden topic. Kale, a young diplomat from the Vorn Dominion, stared at the chair from his seat. He had only recently been assigned to the council, and already he sensed something was wrong. The galaxy was filled with powerful empires, and yet all of them treated that empty seat with fear. It was not just an old relic. It was a warning. Curiosity burned inside Kale. He turned to his mentor, an elder Vorn official named Ambassador Relvac, and whispered, "Why is that seat empty? Who did it belong to?" Relvac's expression darkened. He shook his head. "Do not ask such things, young one." "But—" "Never ask," Relvac interrupted, his voice barely above a whisper. "To speak of it is dangerous." Kale frowned. Dangerous? How could a simple question be dangerous? Something was being hidden, and Kale was determined to find out what. The lost name. That night, Kale accessed the council's historical records. He searched for any mention of the empty seat, its owner, or why it was abandoned. But he found nothing. Entire centuries of history were missing. Wars, treaties, great events, all carefully documented, except for anything related to humanity. It was as if they had been erased from history itself. Yet their chair remained. Kale's heart pounded. This was not a mistake. This was a cover-up. Who were the humans? Why did the council erase them? And why was their seat still waiting? A whisper in the dark. Determined, Kale sent a secret request to the Grey Archives, the largest database in the galaxy, hidden deep within the council's secure networks. Hours later, an anonymous message appeared on his screen. "Do not seek them. You are not ready for the truth." Kale's blood ran cold. Someone knew he was looking, and they wanted him to stop. But Kale was no longer afraid. He had started this journey, and now he could not turn back. Kale sat in the dim glow of his personal terminal, staring at the anonymous message on the screen. "Do not seek them. You are not ready for the truth." His fingers hovered over the controls. Someone knew he was looking. Someone wanted him to stop. But why? The more they tried to keep him away, the more Kale wanted to know. Who were the humans, and why was their history erased? A risky move. Kale decided to take a risk. He accessed the Galactic Council's restricted archives, bypassing security protocols. If he was caught, he could be expelled, or worse. As he searched, fragmented records appeared, bits of erased data. One word kept repeating. Terra. It was the name of their homeworld. Before Kale could open the files, his terminal shut down. A deep robotic voice echoed through his quarters. "You should not have done that." Kale's breath caught. He spun around, but no one was there. Then his communication device buzzed. A distorted voice whispered, "Meet me at Docking Bay 42. Come alone." The mysterious informant. Despite his fear, Kale arrived at the docking bay. The station was quiet, the air thick with tension. A figure stepped from the shadows, a hooded, elderly alien with mechanical implants. His voice was rough, filled with age and experience. "You are looking for the lost ones," the old alien said. Kale nodded. "The humans." The old alien chuckled. "Brave, but foolish. Do you know why their seat is empty?" Kale shook his head. The old alien leaned closer. "Because the council fears them. They always have." Kale's heart pounded. But why? What happened to them? The old alien sighed. They did not disappear. They did not die. They simply left. Cale froze. Left. Where did they go? He asked. The old alien smiled grimly. That is the question that keeps the council awake at night. A terrifying truth. The old alien handed Cale a data chip. This is the last known transmission from Earth. Listen to it, and you will understand why the galaxy is afraid. Cale took the chip carefully. Why are you helping me? The old alien's expression darkened. Because one day they will return. And when they do, the galaxy will never be the same. Before Cale could respond, alarms blared across the station. The council's security forces had found him. He had no choice. He ran. Alarms blared through the corridors as Cale ran, clutching the data chip in his trembling hands. If the council caught him now, he would disappear, just like the truth about humanity. His heart pounded as he slid behind a cargo crate in the docking bay. Security officers rushed past, their weapons drawn, searching for him. He had to get out. He had to know what was on this chip. The last transmission from Earth. Escape and discovery. Cale made his way to his personal shuttle. As soon as he got inside, he activated the launch sequence. Unauthorized launch detected. The station's AI voice was cold. Cale ignored it and pushed the engines to full power. Blaster fire exploded against the hull as he barely escaped into hyperspace. Breathing heavily, he plugged the data chip into his ship's system. The holographic screen flickered. A single audio file appeared. Cale hesitated. Then he pressed play. The last message from Earth. At first, there was silence. Then, a voice. A deep, commanding voice, filled with power and certainty. To those who seek us. Cale shivered. The voice was speaking directly to him. You wonder where we have gone. Why our seat remains empty. Why our name is spoken only in whispers. The voice paused, as if choosing its words carefully. We were never exiled. We were never defeated. We simply saw the truth. Cale leaned forward. The truth, he whispered. The voice continued. The council fears us because we do not follow their rules. We do not submit. We do not kneel. We do not ask for permission. We take what is ours. We shape our own destiny. Cale's blood ran cold. This was not the voice of a weak or defeated race. This was the voice of conquerors. We are not gone, the voice said. We are waiting, watching, preparing. Cale felt his breath hitch, and when we return, the galaxy will kneel. The message ended. The fear of the council. Cale sat in stunned silence. Now he understood. The council did not erase humanity out of shame. They erased them out of fear. The humans were not lost. They were coming back. And when they did, nothing would ever be the same. Cale sat in his ship's cockpit, his mind racing. The message from Earth still echoed in his ears. We are not gone. We are waiting, watching, preparing. The words sent shivers down his spine. The humans were not lost. They were coming back. And the Galactic Council knew it. A dangerous revelation. Cale's hands trembled as he accessed the Galactic Council's hidden archives. If the Council had erased all records of humanity, then there had to be a reason. He typed in the restricted command codes he wasn't supposed to have. The screen flickered. Then a classified file appeared. File name: Operation Silent Eclipse. Cale's eyes widened. He opened the file. The Great Cover-Up. A holographic video played. It showed a secret council meeting from centuries ago. The Supreme Chancellor stood before the High Council, his face pale, his voice shaking. We cannot stop them, he said. We cannot control them. If we allow them to stay in the galaxy, they will reshape it in their image. Cale's heart pounded. Another council member spoke, his tone filled with fear. Then we must erase them, destroy their records, Make it seem as if they never existed. The room fell silent. Then the Supreme Chancellor nodded. Agreed. We will ensure that no race ever speaks of Earth again. We will erase their history from the stars. If they return, we must be ready. The video ended. Kale sat frozen. The council had lied. They did not exile the humans. They tried to erase them, because the council was terrified of what humanity could become. A race that refused to kneel. Kale read further. The file contained reports from ancient battles. Again and again, humanity had been outnumbered. But they never surrendered. Where other species submitted, they fought harder. Where others followed orders, they made their own path. And in the end, the humans simply walked away. No one knew where they had gone. No one knew when they would return. But one thing was clear. The Galactic Council lived in fear of that day. A deadly decision. Kale exhaled slowly. He knew too much now. The Council would never let him leave with this knowledge. His ship's sensors blared. A Council warship had locked onto him. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through his ship's comms. Cal Varen, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Cal's fists clenched. He had a choice. Surrender and let the truth die. Or fight and let the galaxy know the truth about humanity. He took a deep breath. Then he pushed the engines to full power. The chase had begun. Cal's ship lurched forward as he pushed the thrusters to their limit. The cold void of space stretched before him, but behind. The Council's warship was closing in. Cal Varen, this is your final warning. Surrender now. The Council's voice was flat and emotionless, but Cal knew what it meant. If they caught him, he wouldn't get a trial. They would silence him forever. But he had the truth, the proof that humanity wasn't gone. The galaxy needed to know. He wouldn't let the Council bury it again. The chase begins. A blinding beam of energy streaked past his ship. Damn it, Cal muttered. The Council wasn't playing games. They were trying to disable him before he could escape. His hands flew over the controls, dodging through a field of floating debris from an old battle. The warship's cannons fired again, but Cal twisted his ship at the last second. The blast shattered a nearby asteroid instead. You can't outrun us forever, the Council officer's voice crackled through his comms. Maybe not, but Cal had one advantage. He wasn't just trying to run. He was trying to send a message. A desperate broadcast. Cal's fingers danced across the control panel, opening a secure transmission channel. He had to be fast. The Council could jam the signal at any moment. He hit record. To all free species of the galaxy, this is Cal Varen. The Council has lied to you. Humanity was not erased. They were not lost. He glanced at the warship behind him. They left, by choice, and they are coming back. He uploaded the files, the last message from Earth, the classified Council documents, everything. Then he sent the transmission out to every open network in the galaxy. The truth was free. The Council's rage. Instantly, the Council ship's weapons charged to full power. They weren't trying to disable him anymore. They were trying to kill him. Target locked, the warship's AI announced. Cal's eyes flicked to his scanner. He had one last trick up his sleeve. The ultimate gamble. A dense nebula was ahead. A swirling storm of gas and lightning. No sane pilot would fly into it. But Cal was out of options. Here goes nothing, he muttered. He dove into the nebula just as the warship fired a full barrage. Energy blasts screamed past his hull. One shot clipped his engine, sending alarms blaring. But he was inside. Blind, silent, untraceable. The Council ship stopped at the edge of the nebula. They wouldn't follow. Cal let out a shaky breath. He had survived. For now. But more importantly, the galaxy now knew the truth. The war was coming. Cal drifted in the nebula, his ship damaged but still functional. His hands trembled as he checked his transmission logs. The message had gone out. The entire galaxy now knew the truth about humanity. But what would they do with that knowledge? The shockwave spreads. Across the galaxy, the broadcast spread like wildfire. On trade hubs, soldiers and smugglers paused, listening in shock. On distant colony worlds, leaders gathered in secret meetings. And in the grand halls of the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Panic in the council. The Supreme Chancellor's fist slammed against the table. Who let this happen? His voice was filled with rage. The council members shouted over each other. The people are demanding answers. One ambassador cried. Some worlds are questioning our rule. Another added. The Supreme Chancellor's face darkened. Then we must control the narrative. We must stop this before it's too late. They had silenced humanity once. They would do it again, by any means necessary. New allies and old fears. Meanwhile, in hidden corners of the galaxy, rebels, mercenaries, and independent factions whispered among themselves. Some saw the return of humanity as a threat. Others saw it as an opportunity. And then there were the elders, the few surviving species who had known humans before they vanished. They didn't fear humanity's return. They dreaded it, because they remembered what humanity had promised before they left. One day we will return, and when we do, the galaxy will never be the same again. Cal's next move. Cal finally pulled his ship out of the nebula, his comms full of incoming messages. Some wanted to help him. Some wanted to kill him. And some were simply afraid. Then, among the messages, he found something unexpected. A signal, encrypted, old, and unmistakably human. Cal's breath caught in his throat. Humanity had heard his message, and they were responding. The return was beginning. Cal's heart pounded as he stared at the encrypted message on his screen. A signal, human in origin. It was real. Humanity wasn't gone. They were out there, watching. And now, they were responding. The message from the void. Cal hesitated, then activated the decryption. A voice filled his cockpit. Calm, cold, powerful. You have done well, Cal Varen. The galaxy needed to remember. The words sent a shiver down his spine. We are returning. The Council's lies end now. Cal exhaled sharply. He had started something far bigger than himself. And now, there was no stopping it. The Council's final move. In the halls of the Galactic Council, panic had turned to desperation. They had tried to erase humanity's past. Now they would try to destroy its future. Mobilize the fleets, the Supreme Chancellor ordered. We cannot allow humanity to return. Across the galaxy, warships gathered. They would strike first. They had to. Because if humanity came back, they would not come in peace. The sky burns. Then it happened. At the edges of the galaxy, near the abandoned sector once known as Sol, space itself seemed to bend and crack. Massive ships, black as the void, emerged from the darkness. Their design was unlike anything in known history, yet every elder species recognized them instantly. Humanity had returned, and they had not returned alone. The final words. Cal watched from his cockpit as the first human fleet came into view. A transmission echoed across the stars. You silenced us once. You erased our name. But now, the human fleet activated their weapons. The reckoning begins. And with that, the war for the galaxy had begun.